and I'll get you introduced and we'll get going. I want to say this right now again, make sure I'm saying it.
Gumieniuk and Jana?
Jana.
Jan.
Like banana.
Yeah.
Like my grandkids call me Nana, Jana, Banana. So it's
Jana.
Yeah.
Jana. Tuck that in. Jana.
Okay, so Lisa.
Oh, hang on. Actually, let me just get my lighting a little bit better.
I know my gardeners are going to probably pop in, start mowing my lawn.
I would just get some other lighting. Hang on. Colors are a lot better now. Yeah, beautiful.
You good?
Yeah, good. Let's have a beautiful chat.
Okay.
And bring hope to the world.
And bring hope to the world. Correct. Hi, Lisa. This is Jana, and I'm here with Lisa Gumieniuk, and we are getting ready to start our podcast. So I'm just going to intro her in and get going. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Oh My Health, There is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm excited to have Lisa Gumieniuk with us. If you were with me, this is her speaking. So if you were with her back in 2013, you see a woman who thought she had it all. Well, Lisa had a great corporate career and a team she loved. She was kicking goals on her projects, performing and delivering results that, wow, this sounds familiar, right? She won Staff Member of the Year and Outstanding Achievement Awards and married the man of her dreams. She was on top of the world and was unstoppable, or so she thought. And now we're going to hear her story. I'm so excited because she sounds like Superwoman, right? Thank you so much for being with us today, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And do you mind sharing your story with us? Because I'm dying to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we empower each other and we learn so much through people's stories. And I've learned a lot through other people's stories, and it's helped me on my own journey. So yeah, absolutely. What you were saying earlier in terms of, what was happening for me in terms of me being on top of the world, that's exactly where I was at. I felt like I was invincible. I did feel like I was Superwoman. The day after I won those awards, I was doing this really, really big cycle. And I sort of said to myself, I'm invincible. But then not long after that, different things started to happen within me and within my life that it was like my life to some extent started to crumble. So I was very stressed, I was very overwhelmed, and I was very anxious. And then I fell unwell with chronic illness. And because I didn't know how to process my emotions, I didn't know what's, being spiritually sort of connected was, I wasn't balanced nutritionally. So that mind, body, spirit, all of those components were all out of balance for me. And so I fell unwell with glandular fever and then was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease and then eventually Lyme disease and parasites. And like the list just goes on and on and on. So I went from being very, very well and very functional to being very unwell and very almost non-functioning. I used to do, say, 10 hours worth of very high intensity exercise in boot camp. I would cycle 40 kilometers on a Saturday morning and do 2 boot camp sessions. And it got to the stage that I couldn't even walk up 2 steps without having to take a breath. And I went from being very, very functional in my career and in my job to, I remember this one particular day, it was the first day that I opened up an email and I couldn't even read 2 lines. I could physically read the words, but they weren't actually processing in my mind. And I thought, what is happening?
Wow. Well, I want to know what was happening.
What was happening? What was happening, I didn't know at the time. And because I didn't know and I didn't know how to handle what was happening, that was also causing more stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And when you're stressed, then that places pressure on the immune system. And so what was happening is I was having a lot of symptoms. I remember one particular day, I jotted down all the symptoms I was having, and there was over 40 different symptoms. So there was brain fog, challenges with memory, and some of those still occur. So at the, today, for example, my memory is so much better, but I am having challenges with word finding today. So 40 different symptoms. Problems with breathing, problems with, with my gut, anxiety, a lot of emotions, depression. I just wasn't able to handle what was happening because there were things that were happening at a physical level. Then there were things that were happening at an emotional level, and then obviously a mindset level. So I was kind of in this loop, and for many, many years. So it's been a 7-year journey from that start point. I was unable to work for about 5 and a bit of those years. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat at the moment. And so unable to work for a long, long period of time. And I was just stuck in illness, completely stuck in illness.
Wow. That's a lot to go on, considering what you told me at the very beginning makes me understand that you are a control freak about your health, your business. And when things start slipping out of our control and we don't have an answer, like, it is worse. That's so stressful because you're like, if I just knew, I could fix this, right? And then it's the thought of not knowing it. Yeah. And it going on. And it's craziness, and it puts a lot of stress on you. So how did it go from there?
Yeah, I think just to make a comment in terms of control, my work was very controlling. I was a trainer, I was into business processes. So everything that I had done was all about structure and controlling things. And when it comes to your body, your health, your mind, there are certain things that you have control over, but there's a whole heap of things that you don't have control over. So I wasn't having complete control over what was happening to me physically, what was happening to my mind. But I did have the ability to control my emotions and my mindset, but I hadn't realized for such a long time that I could actually have control. And that's part of the reason I've come on this journey, was to learn to actually let go, relax, don't try to control things. The more that I tried to control things, it's the type of energy that you go into things with. If you're trying to control things, then it's a really sort of forced, heavy energy. But if you kind of relax and sort of surrender into things, and surrendering isn't giving up, it's just sort of relaxing and being open to and observing what's happening, then it allows the body to relax. It allows the nervous system to relax. It allows healing to occur.
It also, for me, when I relax and just like lean into the universe and say, okay, where are we going? It opens my eyes to so much going around me, because I'm not controlling the situation. I'm not like from step A to step B to step C, because on the way to step A, I'm so functioned on and looking forward to getting to step B that I miss all that stuff that is in between, because I know I finish A and I go to B. When I'm done with that, I'll go to C. And sometimes on our journey, some of the best things ever are in between those steps.
They so are. It's interesting because I had always heard the term, it's the journey, it's not the destination. And for me, for such a long time, it was about the destination. I want to be well. I want to be back to where I was. I want the life that I had before. And I spent a lot of time mourning the life that I had before, and a lot of time focusing on trying to get back to that life. But I was missing everything in between. And so once I started to surrender, started to let go, and started to focus on, each day and each moment, then so much more became available to me. Instead of focusing on, what pill do I need to take? What therapy do I need to take? I've tried so many therapies, cold therapy, hot therapy in terms of hypothermia, ozone therapy, enemas, colonics, different vitamins and IV therapies. Like, the list goes on and on and on. But I was very much focused on, like, what supplements do I need to take? What therapies do I need to do? What practitioners do I need to see? As opposed to sort of shooting inwards and that really letting go. So that tense energy was just too forceful, and it's too stressful for the body.
It makes it really hard for you to receive wellness when you're putting that up too. So that was beautiful. So I was reading this earlier, and I'm just dying to know your answer to this. It says at one stage you thought you would never be able to walk or talk again. And what led you to that point?
What led me to the point in terms of thinking that I wouldn't walk or talk again?
Yeah. Like, in your story, I've heard your brain fog and stuff, but what made you think you weren't ever going to be able to walk and talk again?
Because my health was deteriorating. You know, my physical health was deteriorating, my mental health was deteriorating. And at one stage, I remember that, you know, I had about a 5 or 10 second window of retaining memory. So I remember I was living in a particular house, and I had my phone with me, and I would go from the kitchen into the bedroom. So it was the kitchen, living room, and 3 bedrooms down. And I would walk really, really slowly, and I'd walk into my bedroom with my phone. And I would go, what am I here for? I can't remember. And then I walk very, very slowly back to the kitchen, and I go, what was I doing? Oh, I was charging my phone. And then I would walk back to the bedroom, and I could repeat that several times where I would forget that I was trying to put my phone on charge. You know, it would take me at one stage 4 hours to make myself breakfast and do the dishes, because I had so much memory loss and coordination. I would do something and I would forget what I was doing. So this in itself causes obviously a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety and a lot of overwhelm. So it's like this vicious circle. So my physical health had deteriorated, my mental health was deteriorating, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And then I also started on online forums and finding out about Lyme disease and what was happening to other people. So I was feeding my illness with other people's illness and with other people's stories, how they weren't getting better. So it's kind of self-perpetuating. It's like, oh, that might happen to me, that might happen to me, that might happen to me. So when you're in a forum with all these people who are currently sick, the people who are well are not in those places because they're well and they're getting on with their lives, and you don't get to experience a lot of their stories. So I was experiencing the stories of everyone was sick, and I was taking them on going, that could happen to me, and I could have seizures, and I could do this. And I hadn't realized, you know, it's the mindset and the emotions. It's really, really heavily. And that neuroplasticity, neurons that fire together, wire together. When we're thinking something, it's wiring it into our body. And our body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined, which is incredible. The body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So here I am listening to and taking in all these other people's stories. My body doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. It doesn't know the difference between it's their story and not my story. And it's starting to play out in my body, and I'm starting to get stuck in, and more stuck in illness. Eventually not believing that I was going to get well. So my mind and my physical body was just deteriorating, and I just thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like walk properly again. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk properly again, because also when you're in illness, it can be very, very hard to step outside of that and to see and visualize beyond that. I had a lot of trouble visualizing beyond that, because I was in such a trauma state. So a lot of practitioners and a lot of, you know, process in neuroplasticity is about trying to think greater than what you are. But I was so stuck that that was actually impossible for me at the time.
One of the great things that you bring up is, as a mindset coach, I say this all the time, that your brain really doesn't know the difference. And they'll say, of course my brain knows the difference. It does not. It does not know the difference. And the blueprint that you set for your life, for your day, for your hour, for your intention is what it does. If you say, I am, you are. Your brain doesn't know that you are not. It only knows what you're hearing. So when I was sick, I did the same thing. I wanted to know more. I got online. I literally typed in the words desperate for health answers to find help.
Yeah, well.
I went into a group like that, and I stayed in it for like maybe 2 days. It was so, I left crying for them, sobbing for them, feeling absolutely hopeless. And yes, they deserve a place to go and complain and whine and get it out, but it wasn't a space that I wanted to live in. I wanted to live, and that wasn't where I could see them going. And a funny little story, and it's not even funny, but there was 20 of us in that group. There's only 2 of us that are still survivors. And I know it's because we left. We didn't accept that. We didn't tell our bodies that was going to happen to us. We made a different blueprint for our brain, and it had no choice but to start following that blueprint. So I love that you're talking about that. Yeah,
it's so important. And Jana, It is so important because, and getting the message out is really important because people don't know. I didn't know. Like, I had seen so many doctors. I had seen to the point of diagnosis, I think it was, I can't quite remember now. I think it was it about 28 practitioners, or I think it was about 28 practitioners to the point of diagnosis. So then it's been another 4 years and another whole heap of practitioners in there. And I remember at one stage a practitioner said, oh, I think that you need to explore, like your emotions and go and speak to someone about it. And I was like, look, I can talk to people. I've got people in my community that I can talk to, and I'm a big talker. As much as I'm having trouble talking and getting words and thoughts out, yeah, I can talk. So talk therapy for me just didn't resonate because I'm like, I actually need solutions, and talking about it is not going to get me solutions. So it wasn't until, I came across a whole heap of different modalities that really helped me to realize it's not just about talking, it's actually beyond talking, and it's some of this neuroplasticity that we're referring to. And I also had a practitioner say to me, Lisa, no amount of modern medicine is going to help you. And I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. And again, like going on the journey and exploring so many things and looking at more the metaphysical side of things, looking at, the conscious and the subconscious mind, exploring those beliefs and those emotions, because everything that's happening physically in the body always has an emotional component to it.
Yes, it does.
The emotional component could have caused what's happening physically, or what's happening physically, biochemically, or there might be a virus or whatnot, might be also impacting and causing some of the heightened emotions.
Well, I totally 100% agree that they are tied together. And as soon as you recognize that tie, you're able to start changing that, start removing some of those limiting beliefs and moving into a healthier space. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you mentioned some of the crazy therapies and treatments that you did. And I want to know what they were and did they really work for you?
Oh, how much time do we have? I don't think we have enough time to go through them all.
Pick some of your top ones.
So some of my top ones would be hypothermia. So that is heating the body up to go into a fever-like state. So there's different ways that you can do that. You can do that where where you're not conscious, and that's not available within Australia. That's available overseas in America and Germany and countries like Malaysia and Mexico. But locally, it's available where you only go up to a certain temperature. So they heated me up. I got into a fever-like state. I did this several times over a number of weeks. And it was excruciatingly challenging in terms of, heating the body up, going into a fever-like state and trying to be, conscious and focus and do breath work. So that kills a number of pathogens. So that did help with certain aspects, but it was potentially something that I needed to continue with. But it was such a challenge, physical, mental, emotional challenge on the body. After a while, I can't do this any longer. Like, this is excruciating. What else? Coffee enemas. I love coffee enemas. They're really quite amazing because they filter the blood and the liver and release a lot of toxins. What else have I tried? Ozone therapy. So that is rectal ozone therapy, so ozone going into the body again to help detox and clear some pathogens, bring some sort of oxygen into the body. What else have I tried? I've tried vagal nerve stimulation. I've tried saunas, cold therapy. I do love a cold shower. It is amazing for and hot cold showers. So cold showers on its own, my body temperature is quite cold, so having a cold shower, then my body's not able to regulate. So actually doing a hot cold shower is really great. It helps with the mind, it helps with the immune system. Breath work is fantastic. And there's lots of different styles. There's gentle styles, there's not so gentle styles. There is yoga. Qigong is one of my my favorites for moving the lymph around. We have body brushing, and there's a lot of different sort of, energetics. There's working with different parts of the body in terms of energy, chakras, meridians, physically supporting those meridians. I love EFT, emotional freedom technique, which is also known as tapping, which is great for the nervous system, for emotions, and helping with a lot of that neuroplasticity. I tried affirmations, but when you don't believe in an affirmation and that affirmation is not aligned, for me, neurons that fire together wire together, and where your thoughts and energy is, that's where the thoughts and energy flows. So when I kept saying, I believe I'm well, I believe I'm well, I believe I'm well, what was happening is I was actually getting more and more and more agitated because I didn't believe that I was well. So it was actually making me quite angry. Whereas I did some tapping like EFT, and that helps to calm the mind and go, no, actually, I don't believe that I'm well. And actually, what is that belief? Processing that belief to then actually be able to say, I believe I'm well, or I believe I can get well. I believe I'm not stuck in this anymore. They're just a few.
I love that. And by the way, I use tapping all the time. I use it when I have to go on stage, when I have big things. It helps center me, focus me, and just releases anything that might be holding me back. So I love all the things you were sharing. I think they're phenomenal, but that was quite a journey. So on this journey that you were on, what are some of the things that like key lessons you can teach all of us or share with all of us? Because there's a million things out there, and you can go out and try them, and what worked for Lisa or what worked for me may not work for you. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try, right? Because you don't know until you can't say, nope, that won't work for me. You know what? It won't, because you've already told your brain it won't. You have decided to not receive it. But I was open to it. If I went to Lisa and said, I'm dying, I'm desperate, what can I do? And she says, well, go out in my farmyard and grab some chicken poo, and I want you to rub it up your face and get it in your nostrils. I would have said yes, because I did not want to die. I would have said, yes. Well, okay, I'll go. Yeah. And I would have tried it. And would it work? Probably not. I don't know. But I was open to receiving any kind of healing. I was just a magnet pulling whatever would come in. So if someone says to you, try cold therapy, try hot therapy, and you immediately say, no, that won't work for me. You just told your brain it doesn't know, right? If it's real or not, and it's already decided this isn't going to work for me. So what are some of the key things that you learned on your journey? Some of the lessons, what would you suggest? What would you say? I don't know.
Yeah, there are so many amazing things. The first thing that I would say, and it's actually something I would say to myself in hindsight, is stop, slow down, stop trying to, we spoke about it earlier, stop trying to control the situation, stop trying to find structure within it, and actually just stop and take a step back. And just start to, if someone said, stop, take a step back, listen to yourself, I heard that, I didn't know what that meant. So finding some practitioners that can help and support you. If you feel stuck, then often you need help and support to get out of that. So I wish that I had come across practitioners, and I wish I'd come across myself now, knowing what I know now, knowing, the practitioner that I am now. I wish I had come across someone like me to actually help me to get out of that being unstuck in a way that was so much quicker. It took me, 6.5 years to get to that point. So if some of this seems too far away, then seek some help and support. But I think it's really important to know, it's I guess the title of your podcast, there is hope. Hearing other people's stories and journeys. And, your podcast is amazing in that regard, because it gives people the opportunity to, see, hear, feel that there is hope. If you're doing something and it's not working, then try something else. There are so many people that I come across that work with me, and they come to me and they have been doing the same thing with the same practitioners for many, many, many years, and they're not getting any results. And you would experience that with yourself and with your practice in terms of, all the mindset work that you do. You can make some changes very, very quickly. You can change the body. Takes 2.5 seconds to make a change, potentially. And obviously to break a habit can take 2.5 seconds up to, I think I was listening yesterday, 280 something days. So it can take, 21 days, but it can take 280 something days as well. And it can take 2.6 seconds.
Well, the main thing there the main thing there is you cannot make that change if you don't start. So that 2.5 seconds when you flip that switch to start is literally your journey to stopping that habit. So I love that you just said that.
Yeah. So that's really powerful. And it's often the way that we hear, things and messages forms our understanding of things. So to put it that way, that would be one of the most powerful things, wouldn't it? In terms of if you could change your trajectory within 2.6 seconds, why would you not?
I don't know, but people don't. I don't think they see that it's possible for them. No.
That's the thing, to know that it's possible. So I didn't know it was possible. So many people don't know it's possible, but it is. There is hope. There is possibility. And that's why we share our stories, so that people know that it absolutely is possible. And if most people were asked that question, if they were told it is possible and that is an option, is that something that you would like to do? Is that something that your subconscious mind would like to do? Then most of the time it would be yes. Although sometimes there might be some of those limiting beliefs in there that are holding people back to say, I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable of receiving that. I'm what's on the other side of what I'm experiencing. And for me, I didn't think I was worthy of receiving wellness.
100%. I'm 100% behind you on everything you're saying. And one of the things that I would really want you to talk about is when I came home, I was told there was no hope. I was going to die. And I was given my beautiful grandson, our 5th grandchild. He was 7 weeks old. And I remember, and I say this all the time, I was holding him knowing I was going to die in a few weeks. But all I could think of is, how will he remember me? He will not have one memory. He's too little. He won't remember how I smelled. He won't remember how I laughed. He's not going to remember the touch of my skin on him right now. He just won't have any memories of me. And that was not okay with me. So I didn't really go on a journey to figure out what could save me. I went on a journey to create a memory. And to this day, 10 years later, I literally, if I'm here another hour, another 60 years, for me, it's all about creating those incredible memories and sending out stories like yours, giving hope to the world. Because if you have breath still in your lungs, there is still hope for you. You can still change your quality of life. Your journey can change. You just have to put that blueprint in your head. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, what do you believe now about health? Now that you've been on the dark side, the scary side, now how do you feel about health and healing and hope?
It's really inspiring. It's really inspiring. My journey was really, really challenging. And sometimes we say, there's parts that it would have been nice not to have gone through it, but I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the internal knowledge, the internal wisdom, the joy and the passion for doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't have my soul's purpose. I didn't know what my soul was. I remember one particular time, I literally felt like there was nothing left. And my husband came home, and I had recently got some crystals, and I'm playing with these crystals, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, you need a purpose. And I'm like, I'm so broken. I'm so unwell. I feel like there's absolutely nothing left of me. And if I need to play with 4 crystals to find myself, then that's what I need to do. Going on this really, it was an amazing journey, because I found so much connection and so much, it's really inner peace and inner love. And ultimately, that's what we're all looking for.
I
and we're
agree.
all hoping for, like inner peace, inner connection. So I was looking in all of these avenues of doing things and seeing practitioners, but I wasn't looking inwards. And to look inwards, then I also had to process a lot of the limiting beliefs and a lot of the emotions that were holding me back to be able to get in there and explore that and tune into it and feel it and connect in with something that was greater than me, the universe, which is something that I was like, what is all, I don't know what this is. I was so structured. I was so left brain and left focused. Um, you know, to think that there was this energy field around us and these things called meridians and chakras. It's like, no, that's I don't understand. I didn't understand that. It was the unknown. But actually tapping into and tuning into that, that's where some of the greatest lessons have come from.
I know that when I say the same thing, I wouldn't have changed that journey for anything in the world. I would have, with as scary as it was, as sick as I was, I wouldn't have changed it because I felt like I had to get completely broken to open up to
Mm-hmm.
receiving what was coming to me. And I wouldn't have, and any other thing had changed if I had gotten better very quickly. If things had
Yeah.
changed, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I'm so grateful because now what is important to me are the precious little families and my grandkids and making those memories with them and sending hope out into the world, because what you're saying right now goes out into the world and creates this ripple effect that changes people. And so I love that you're here today to share your story with us. And I would love for you to tell us, like, what's one thing that listeners can do today to challenge their health trajectory for tomorrow? How can they do that?
What's one thing that they can do today is most things start with a thought. Like if we break it down, there's a thing start with a thought, which then becomes a belief, then you have emotions and feelings, then you take action or have a certain behavior, and then that results in a certain outcome. So we talk about that 2.6 seconds is change a thought, think something differently, say something differently to your brain. If you don't have hope, then say I'm open to hope.
Our hope is
I'm open
coming
to
to
what.
me.
Yeah, hope is coming to me. Like, what is it that you're open to?
I
I'm
think that
open to receiving hope.
I think that is so beautiful. And you just really nailed it. What a beautiful thing to change one thought in your head. It's so easy to do. And if you can change that one thought, your body doesn't know, your mind doesn't know that that's not coming. It believes it is. And then pretty soon those beliefs come into action. And so you just made a beautiful circle for everyone to see on how they can start changing that. Change that one little thought. We were just working with some people that were struggling to lose that last 10, 15 pounds. And what kept coming out of their mouth is, I can't eat that. Like, we can't have this. I can't have sugar. Like, can you just say, I don't eat sugar? I don't eat this.
Well, yeah,
That
yeah,
one thought now is not
yeah,
restrictive. It's
yeah.
you making a choice.
Or yeah, you said the words perfectly there. Or saying, I choose.
Yeah,
I choose to not eat this. I choose to eat something else. Because when you're choosing, it's so much more empowering than saying, I don't, I can't.
I agree. And that group of people 30 days later who laughed and said, that is not going to work for me. That doesn't work for me. They are like, how did that work? How did that happen? That
Yeah,
changing one
I
thought
know.
pattern, right? One thought
Yeah.
pattern. Now I don't even want it. You just said, I don't want it. You didn't say I can't have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of the lifestyle, the choices that we make, people choose to make different nutritional choices because obviously nutrition is a fuel for our body and nutrition is really important. So I started off training as a coach and also a nutritionist. But then I realized that a lot of people actually know what they need to do. But the challenge is in people making the right choices, thinking the right things about food and making the choices and taking those actions. So it's greater than saying, here's the food that you should and need to be eating. It's like, why are you not eating those foods, and how can you feel yourself better, and how can you feel about it, and what beliefs or emotions are holding you back?
I love it. Lisa, how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Oh, thank you so much. My website, lisagumieniuk.com. So that's Lisa Gumieniuk, Gumieniuk.com. My Facebook and Instagram pages, which is Lisa Gumieniuk Coach. My Facebook page, which is Chaos to Clarity Reset, which is all about, women and people coming together to reset stress, anxiety, and overwhelm.
I love it. I would totally connect with this lady. She speaks my language. I know she speaks yours too. She's incredible. I was dying to get her on the show and to hear her story. So thank you so much, Lisa, for spending the day with us and sharing all that goodness with us and sending that ripple of hope out into the world.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to share this beautiful message. It's an honor, and it's so beautiful. So thank you so much.
You're definitely going to set a ripple of change out. You are going to relate to so many women.
Yay.
Thank you.